Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with a big knife review for you today. Not only because you guys have requested it, I did not know about this knife. One of my lovely viewers was nice enough to tell me about it on my live stream, and I went out and got one as quick as I possibly could. I see why you guys were excited. Also, this is just a huge knife. This is an astronomically large knife. This is the Cold Steel 4MAX Scout. Not the biggest thing Cold Steel makes, but it's in the conversation. It's a very, very large, beefy thing. Now, the 4MAX, the original version that you can still get with 20 CV steel and G10 handles and titanium liners is $350. This with AUS 10A steel, these GFN handles and stainless steel liners is $110.49. Much more palatable price for what is a big, silly knife. But according to Andrew Demko, the designer, who designs a lot of stuff for Cold Steel, he described it as every bit a 4MAX. It's still just as functional and capable as a regular 4MAX, just as tough. It's just cheaper materials. And I've held a regular 4MAX. I've not actually used one or anything. So I'm going to take him at his word on that. But it's definitely a very tough functional knife. I will give you that. I've had this thing for a little over a week and carried it a lot more than I thought it would. We'll get to that in the conclusion, so please stick around for the conclusions on this because I came to quite a surprising conclusion about this knife. So it is very, very large. Let's just give, before I do stats and the regular size comparisons, let me just put it up against a few things because these are 1-inch squares. It gives you some kind of an idea, but here are some common items. Here it is against a standard water bottle. Yeah, it's longer than that. Probably more appropriate to a lot of my viewers, judging by the Brews and Blades show. Here it is against a 16-ounce can of beer. This is not a 12-ounce can of beer. This is a 16-ounce can of beer. That is a very, very, very large knife for absolutely sure. It's one of the big cans, not the biggest can. You get 22, only Steel Reserve 22s if you're a true alcoholic, I guess. But no, it's a 16-ounce can of beer, big can of beer. All right. Let's do some of these crazy specs on this, and I swear I'm not lying about these. These are all completely accurate. You have an overall length of 10 inches, blade length of 4 inches. That's not too crazy. Blade thickness, 0.18 inches, handle thickness of 0.66 inches, and a weight of, an honest-to-God, 10.2 ounces. It's a big, heavy sucker. I didn't believe that 10.2 when I got it. I did an unboxing on this already, and I was like, is that really that heavy? I didn't look at the weight. Nope, it is. It's every bit of 10.2. Exactly what Cold Steel claims. So they get the golf clap. It's 10.2. They didn't try to hide it. You know, they didn't try to, they just said, yeah, no, it's big, it's heavy. It is what it is. So good for them. Let's do some size comparisons. We're going to do a lot here because, again, I just want to stress how big this thing is. We'll start out with our usual Spyderco sandwich, and then we're going to do a couple other Spydercos here. So we have to do it. This is going to be kind of comical, but here it is against your Spyderco Paramilitary to try and line up the pivots. And probably even funnier, your Spyderco Para 3. Are they even all three on camera? This is going to be the difficult part, is getting all these on camera. Yeah, it's large. Now, we'll do the other Spydercos in a minute. Let's put up against some other kind of big knives. We have here a couple of Hinderer designs. We have your XM18. Way bigger than XM18, which is a pretty large knife. And we have the ZT0562 tie. Yeah, it still dwarfs both of those. Now, I'm going to bring out a couple of Spydercos. I'm going to bring out a couple of other Cold Steels, and then we'll wrap that up. But here is a pretty big knife, Spyderco Shaman. That's a pretty big knife, one of my favorite larger knives, actually. Way bigger than that. And I just happen to have one here. This is a Manix 2 XL. This is the big Manix, the Manix 2 XL, and it's still bigger than that. And lastly, unfortunately, I do not have a Cold Steel 8010. I will next week, but I did not want to hold this review off that long. You're going to see more about the 8010. I had one before I sold it. I got another one back, but it's not here yet. And I didn't want to make you guys wait. The 8010 is very similar in size to the Shaman. So just kind of think of it that way. And we will do Keep it on my Instagram. I'll probably post a photo of them together because this is basically a big 8010. You have your Spider Coat, your Cold Steel American Lawman, and the Code 4. So yeah, even by Cold Steel standards, it's pretty big. It's not an Espada XL or any of the big crazy 6-inch blade ones they do, but it's very big and very, very beefy. Now, let's talk more about this knife, the blade. AUS 10A, technically still a budget steel, but you know what? It seems to hold up pretty well. It seems to be a fairly tough steel. And I will say Cold Steel, even on their AUS 8, they did a really good job with it, with the heat treat. I can't imagine it's any different on this. And for $110.49 for a knife this big with just this much material in it, really don't have a problem with the blade steel choice at all. I think that's fine. I know a lot of people have crapped on it a little bit, but if you go watch Jimmy Slash's video, which I will link to down below, he beat the hell out of it. Didn't chip the blade, didn't do anything. He was, you know, smacking wood, like basically chopping through 2x4s and stuff with it. It could still cut phone book paper when it was done. I think it's perfectly fine steel for this. I have zero issues with that whatsoever. It is about 30 thousandths behind the edge, which honestly I was expecting to be a little bit thicker. And it is back here. Back here you get up to like 33, 34, 35. But where you're mostly cutting, because that thumb stud's getting in the way, where you're mostly cutting, yeah, it's like 30, 31 thousandths. That's not bad at all. And like all cold steels, razor sharp out of the box. They do such a good job with sharpening. It's big, thick, 0.18 inch, actually a little bit more than, I think it was more like 0.185 inch blade stock. Still, and I'm not sharpening this or anything, and it still cuts paper completely fine. It definitely will cut. It is definitely a useful blade. And are you going to snap that tip off? No, you are not. No, you are not. I would never advocate prying with your knife, like prying paint can lids off or anything like that. But if you must, yeah, this will be fine. As far as the ergonomics go, I mean, people have, but with a knife this big, it's kind of hard to screw them up, and they did not. The ergonomics on this are excellent. Very generous forward finger choil, which, you know, I always like. Jimping is placed perfectly. The jimping is not super aggressive or anything like that. It's just about perfect, really, as far as the texture goes. These GFN handles are extremely grippy. I really like them as far as using them. I have a little problem with it another way. We'll get to that. But forward finger choil is very comfortable. You could hold it, and so you could sit around and invent new positions to put your hand on this knife, and they're all comfortable because the handle is just so big. I can almost two-hand this thing. I'm like one pinky short of being able to two-hand this thing. If I really need to, I don't know. I don't know what I would be doing like that, but you could if you wanted to. Every grip you can think of, you know, it works. It's very, very comfortable. Extremely comfortable knife to use. I went through and cut quite a bit of cardboard. And again, I still haven't sharpened it, and I did all that, and it's still really sharp. I went through and cut quite a bit of cardboard just to try it. Not only did it cut it well, my hand was like, no fatigue whatsoever. It's a big, heavy knife. You can keep that in mind if you're going to be swinging it around a lot. Balance on it, though, is not too bad, I have to say. We're right about, whoa, if I can do it right. That was my fault. We're a little far back, but I'm sorry. I'll get it. There we go. My skinny fingers. Yeah, maybe a teensy far back, but not really. No, it's pretty darn good, I have to say. Really, really liking that about it. It's just a pleasure to use. Now, as far as the carry goes, this is where you think the downside's going to be, because it's a big one. And it is, but not for the reasons that I thought. So, bring out ye old Dickies. Now, again, this is very thick denim, so keep that in mind. But it does slide into my regular pants a little bit easier, but not a whole lot. So you hear that noise, right? Going in there, that grippy GFN, bit too grippy on the pockets. It's a pocket destroyer for sure. I could back the pocket clip tension off a little bit. I could do what I did on my old Recon 1 and sand down the spot where the clip touches, which worked extremely well. But I'm not going to do that because this knife is going on to my good friend Nick Shabazz. So he's going to review it. I'm sure his review is going to be much more entertaining than mine. So go check that out whenever he does that. I'm sending this on to him. I wanted to send it as it is. When I get it back, which I will get it back because I am keeping this thing. Spoiler alert for the conclusion. I do really like it. I'm going to take the clip off and stand down that spot. I did that on my Recon 1. I will say Cold Steel replied to my unboxing video of this where I mentioned that. I said the new Recon 1s have a little bit gentler texture on the G10. That makes me want to go get another Recon 1, so that probably just cost me some money. But yeah, once it's in the pocket though, other than the weight, you can't hide, 10.2 ounces of weight. You know what? It ain't that bad. I really was surprised. It's big. It's a pocket dominator to an extent, but there's no flipper tab. Like, look, I can still get my hand in there. You got to do a little wiggle, but you can still get your hand in there. Most common thing that I wind up putting in that same pocket, I try not to put anything in that pocket, but I often do. Most common thing I have in there is my vape, one of my two, and I can get them, either of the two that I use, in and out perfectly fine. It's not really a hassle to get past it and get it out again. It's not that big a deal. So it was actually more carryable than I thought it was going to be. Again, it's just the weight. Gotta wear a belt. Make sure you're wearing a belt or you're going to pants yourself in a Target. But yeah, it takes up a lot of room. This is a big pocket. You can still see it takes up a whole lot of room, but I could still, get to the most common thing that winds up in that same pocket. Not too bad. Action-wise, it's a Cold Steel backlog. They're not fidgety, but yeah, you can give it a little rest and flick it out, no problem. It's pretty drop shotty, and it's not going to hit if you move your finger up far enough, it's not really going to catch you with the heel of that blade. You got to make sure you move your finger up far enough, because that's a big heavy blade. It's going to come down really fast, so keep that in mind. But not too bad. It's not a fidget knife, but it's all right. You do have to give it a little bit of rest, for sure. I did not take this apart and tune it or anything, because again, it's gone into somebody else. And listen to that sound. That's the sound to get out of my way. That's what that sounds like. So what are my conclusions on this? Probably the title says something about, budget ridiculousness, which it is. It's a big ridiculous knife. I will say, if you are going to own a big ridiculous knife, it should be a Cold Steel. They do ridiculous better than almost anybody else, especially for the price. And it's $110. I don't mind having it around, and I'm surprised it's actually usable. It's actually a very usable knife. Is it something I would EDC every day? No, I wouldn't. But is it one that I would EDC every now and then? Yes. Yes, I would. And I have. I don't think it's ever going to make my, top 10 carried of the month or top 5 carried of the month or anything like that. But I like having it around. And for 110, it's my big, silly token knife. And I think it will remain so for quite some time. So I've been Brian. Hope you've enjoyed this. Have a good one.